Hi, welcome back to Taronga TV, folks. I'm with Senior Carnivore Keeper Deb Price, and Deb's been really kind to let us back into the holding area of the new lion exhibit here at Savannah. Deb, thanks so much. Explain to us a little bit about where we are.
Yeah, so this space is our off-exhibit holding area, which is fantastic. We haven't had off-exhibit holding space for lions before, so it's a really great asset to have. And we use this space to get animals used to us, like when they're new from another zoo, to get used to our environment. We'll use it when we're doing introductions between two new animals, and we'll also use it when we have young cubs that are not quite ready to go out into our massive exhibit. They can come out into this area and get different, sensations from the grass and rocks and climbing and, different sounds as well from the area.
Yeah, so we're looking through the mesh here, and there's a double layer of mesh between this holding and the exhibit, but round in the front you've got an incredibly beautiful big glass atrium area where you can see, so you've got to get down to Savannah and see this. It's an amazing experience. We've got giraffes back in their place, zebras are back, we've got the lions at the top here, chimpanzees, fennec foxes and meerkats. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is, and you can get so close to them. It's great. We've put some wonderful assets in around the viewing area, so they've got lovely heated platforms and nice high outlooks, which hopefully they'll love, and they'll love resting right there.
Isn't it great, Deb, when you can design an exhibit, it's species-specific exhibit, and you can do it the way you wanted?
Yeah, absolutely, and our whole team was heavily involved in this particular build, as well as meerkats and fennec foxes for carnivores. So we had many hours, and obviously started many years ago.
Yeah.
The planning process and design process leading towards obviously now having it in place.
You happy with it?
Yeah, we are really happy with it. We're excited. It's a huge, massive space, and I hope the public really enjoy that we've given them so much space. And they also have like a really nice outlook as well, so they can look, past, the confines of their exhibit to see what's going on in other areas.
Yeah. So you said introductions. We've used that word a lot in Taronga TV work when we've talked to keepers. An introduction for lions, Deb, correct me if I'm wrong, but it would be probably through this mesh area to start with. Could you explain how that works?
Yeah, so an introduction is just basically one animal meeting the other, and we do this very slowly and cautiously in a zoo environment because we want it to go well. And ultimately, when you're talking about introductions between lions, they're obviously large, dangerous animals, so they can do a lot of damage if they want to. So we do a lot of crossover of scent, so different spaces that they're sharing. We watch their behaviour constantly. We obviously only usually introduce when the female's cycling or in estrus, because that's the most positive time. And we watch all their behaviours between the mesh, so they should want to, to get to know each other and to want to spend time together as well.
There'd be a lot of rubbing up against the mesh.
Yeah, doing lots of rubbing and all those lovely behaviours, which we see in tigers as well.
It's a little bit rude of me. I haven't introduced the gentleman behind us here. There's two of them. I'll let Deb do that.
Yeah, sure. So this is Lwazi sitting down here, and Ato over the other side there, and they're our new male African lions here at Taronga, and we're very excited. They're both very young boys, so they're about sort of 2.5, almost 3 years old, and they're kind of like family coming home because their dad was Johari, which was a male that we actually bred here, which was Bruise's son. So a lot of long-term visitors to the zoo would remember our old or our previous lion group, and and so it's kind of nice to have that family coming back home again.
I can't tell you how fantastic, I will tell you, to have lions that close walking behind us is the most fantastic feeling. And I just wanted to explain to you, there's a certain scent of lions too, isn't there, Deb? Just got to waft for that. It's beautiful. It's just a really weird but big cat smell. Yeah. Look, hello boy.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hello boy.
So you can see Ato has got still a lot of his cub spots.
Yes.
So when they're cubs, they've got a lot of spots over their body, and he's still got a few of them because they
just
are
on
still
his belly
young.
there.
On his belly, whereas Ato's got less of those spots, and he's starting to get that lovely hairy belly as well.
Speaking of hairy, their mane is developing, isn't it? It's far from full. So when do they leave the pride, and just talk us a little bit about that sort of progression.
Yeah, so they start leaving the pride when they're quite young, and then they'll live in like bachelor groups, and their mane will constantly start to develop. So usually when they get that first wisps of a mane, then they usually get kicked out. And then their mane just starts maturing more and more as the years pass, and usually around sort of 5 years or so, they'll have that lovely full mane and quite dark mane as well.
And a lot of people, Deb, think it's just a big flashy thing. It does show them, other females and everything, how strong and healthy they are. But there's been some other sort of thoughts about the mane and in protecting themselves and things like that.
Yeah, there's some thoughts around it protecting their neck area, so it's quite obviously vast over their head and also around their neck and chest. So there's some thoughts that when they're battling other males to overtake a certain pride, that it might also offer some sort of resistance to bites and scratches around that area.
So it does make them quite conspicuous in the wild, doesn't it?
You would think so, but they use their camouflage really well also.
Yeah, compared to the females. And
yeah.
There's something I think is really interesting for people to know, Deb. A lot of people think that the males don't do anything and the females do everything.
Yeah.
It's not far from the truth, but there's a reason for that, isn't there?
Yeah, so a lot of people think that the males have it really easy and they just waltz on in after the females have exhausted themselves with a kill and just eat, their share first. But they do get really, really tough. So as males, they get kicked out of their maternal pride at quite young. And they have to live on their own or live in little bachelor groups with their brothers for quite some time and obviously hunt for themselves until they're strong enough and mature enough to go and then take over a pride themselves. So it is really tough. And then once they do that job, they then have to hold on to that pride as well. So they have to, patrol their area and make sure that that area is safe for any young that they're obviously bringing up in that pride. So it is a really, really stressful job being a male lion, and then some young, strong, fitter male will then come over and overtake you, and you get kicked out again.
Very true. Now, in the wild, they'd obviously eat as and when they needed, and they're opportunistic to a degree, and etc. In our care, what would they get on a daily basis? And can you talk us through that? Because it's not just this throwing a chunk of meat over, is it? There's a lot more to it. And folks,
No.
I love the keepers sharing with you, because the enrichment and the work that they do every single day to keep the lives of the lions fantastic is really interesting.
Yeah, that's right. It's not as simple as throwing a piece of meat in. Obviously, they are strict meat eaters. So we do need to make sure they get a lot of muscle meat. But it's really important that they get bones, preferably, and also the fur or feathers or whatever it might be attached to that item as well. So that's really important for their digestive system. And it's really important to choose the right cut of meat as well. So it's really important for them not to have any sort of weight-bearing type bones, where we might have issues with them sort of breaking teeth and things like that if they're trying to chomp on those. But they get a range of different meats. They get beef, they get roux because they live in Australia, chicken and deer or venison.
Yep.
So we try and give them as much variety as we possibly can, and then we break those that daily ration down into sort of multiple feeds throughout the day. So they'll get a large chunk first thing in the morning in the dens as our thank you for coming into the den, so we can go out and clean the exhibit first thing in the morning and do all of our husbandry. We might chop off some pieces to utilise out in the exhibit during the day to try and get them motivated and interested in exploring other aspects of the exhibit, going up trees, going into the rockwork crevices, and also we do training and conditioning with them as well. So we might utilise pieces during the day. We're very much for positive reinforcement here, and we do a lot of cooperative care behaviours with our cats as well. So F3 vaccinations, so the same vaccination that your domestic cat would receive at home is the exact same thing that a lion would receive at a zoo, and obviously it's not as simple as putting them in a pet pack and taking them to the vet, or asking them to stay still. So we actually have to do a lot of work and a lot of training to get them to present their rump to us right near the mesh, so we can actually give that injection ourselves. So there's a lot that goes into, it's not just cleaning up some poo and throwing some food in. There's actually a lot more that goes on. Yeah,
incredibly interesting stuff, folks, and there's so much to these two animals that you're going to learn at Taronga. As they get bigger and older, they're going to be more impressive. We'll come back and tell some amazing stories with Deb again. I just want to say to you, you must come down to Savannah. It is absolutely fantastic. You start your journey just at the bottom of the theatre here if you come back to Taronga, past the chimpanzees, lions is next, and then down through the Savannah Walk you'll see zebras, giraffe, meerkat, fennec foxes, and these two magnificent creatures. And you might see Deb and her team inside there cleaning out if you're early in the morning as well, but they'll probably be back on exhibit by then, won't they, anyway?
Usually.
Anyway, folks, get on down to Savannah. Really want to have you back at Taronga. Thank you, Deb, so much for talking to us. Can we come back and have another chat another time?
Absolutely, we'd love to have you back, and we love showing off our boys. So.
Excellent, thank you. You never know what's around the next corner on Taronga TV. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.